You may notice there are some sparks missing. You can hear a spark happen, but you can't see it on the screen. That's because the duration of the spark is very short, and it doesn't match the frequency of the shutter of the camera. This is our Joules test circuit. This is the spark gap right here where all the arcing and sparking takes place. The current is limited through the spark gap by the OHMWEVE resistors. There are 10 of them in series to make 1,000 ohms. Each OHMWEVE resistor in this circuit can handle 2,600 joules. There are 10 of them to make 26,000. OHMWEVE makes resistors that can handle up to 13,000 joules each. So that would make 130,000 joules total. The energy for the spark comes from this capacitor right here. It's a 4,000 picofarad capacitor, high voltage capacitor. And the energy is supplied by the high voltage power supply, which puts out 30,000 volts. Cut. Take a look at the leaders that creep out from the tips of the electrodes. The leader on the left is a little longer than the leader on the right. That's the ground electrode. If you look close, you'll see the leaders are purplish blue. That's probably because it's corona based on ionized nitrogen, which is most of the atmosphere. You might also notice that the spark follows the angle of the electrode. The electrons, by nature, want to follow the circuit in the most efficient manner, so you'd think they would jump directly from tip to tip in a straight line, but instead they travel straight out to meet at a theoretical point between the electrodes. We're thinking that the electrons are following an ionized path that's defined by the cone shape of the electrode, so that even though there's a physical path that's shorter between the 2 points, there's no electrical path there to follow. This is our Joules test circuit. You can see the electrodes. They're made of brass. They're corona balls to keep the corona discharge down. Behind those you see the OHMWEVE resistors that limit the energy through the spark gap. The OHMWEVE resistors are each 100 ohms. There are 10 of them to make 1,000 ohms. Each one can handle 2,600 joules. They do go up to 13,000 joules. You see the capacitor in the lower left corner. It supplies the instantaneous energy for the spark, and the power supply that produces 35,000 volts. Take a look at the beautiful colors in this still shot. I can't tell you the exact physics that are going on to cause that, but there are some things we do know. The electrode on the left is ground, and the electrode on the right is positive. You see a greenish glow coming from the electrode on the right. That may be some copper ions spraying off the tip of the electrode. Then you see a halo surrounding the spark on both ends, and that is probably residual corona, not to be confused with the virus, but that means it's ionized gases. And gases ionize at different colors, but the atmosphere has mostly nitrogen in it, so you'll see a lot of purplish glow because that's the color that nitrogen glows at when it ionizes.